In the previous video, we have actually discussed about the first objective, and that objective was actually to understand the five characteristics of solid states. Okay, so we have already discussed this one. Okay, so basically in this video, what we have to do, we're going to discuss about the second objective of this chapter. Okay, so the second objective of this chapter, the solid state, is actually to understand the types of solids. Okay, and what is the definition of the types of solids, and what is the basis of the difference of these types of solids. Okay, and also you have to understand the some properties of crystalline solids or the amorphous solid. Okay, so actually that property is coming from what? Okay, which factor will going to actually determine their properties. Okay, so we have to understand this type of things in this video. Actually there are two types of solid. One is a crystalline solid, number one, and second is your amorphous. Okay, amorphous solid. So actually these two this classification, that means the classification of the solid is on the basis of what? The arrangement of the constituent particles. Okay, so actually these two these two solids are classified, or the solids are classified into these two solids on the basis of what? On the basis of the arrangement. Okay, this is important. So on the basis of arrangement of the constituent particle. Okay, constituents particles. Okay, so what is constituent particles? So constituent particles are those particles which will going to form that solid. Okay, understand? The smallest particle or the smallest element of that solid which will going to actually form that solid. Okay, so if the if the particles, that means the constituent particles, have some ordered arrangement. Okay, ordered arrangement mean what? Their structure will going to repeat, okay, throughout the solid, then that type of solid is actually crystalline solid. Okay, and if the constituent particles, the arrangement is not not ordered, okay, then it will be your amorphous solids. Again, one point is that what is constituent particle? Actually constituent particle may be maybe molecules, maybe even atom or ions. Okay, now the question is, what is crystalline solid? Okay, how will you going to define the crystalline solid? Okay, so we can actually define the crystalline solid by its properties. Okay, if some properties or some behavior will be observed from that solid, okay, then we can say that that solid is your crystalline solid. Okay, so that means to become a crystalline solid, the solid must have exhibited some properties or some behaviors. And so here I am giving you some properties actually which must be followed by that solid to become a crystalline solid. Okay, so the definition of crystalline solid is like this. You can define a crystalline solid like this way. Okay, so a solid is known as crystalline solid. Okay, if and only what? If that solid would going to follow these rules or these properties. Okay, so number one is that the solid is the solid is consist of large number of small crystals. Okay, so that means if the solid, okay, solid if the solid is a crystalline solid, then that solid must have some small crystals. Okay, a large number of small crystals, and the small crystal which is inside that solid should have some definite geometrical shape. Okay, and the main point is this one, which says that the arrangement of the constituent particle is ordered. What is the meaning of it? That means the constituent particles, okay, it may be your molecule, or it may be atoms, or it may be ions. Okay, so the constituent particles must be in ordered form. That means what? That means the arrangement of this constituent particles should be repeat itself periodically over the entire crystal, okay, to form the crystalline solid. So we can define the crystalline solid by this way. Okay, that means a solid become a crystalline solid if that solid will going to follow this three behavior of three properties. Understand? So coming to the definition of the amorphous solid, actually the terms or the word amorphous is coming from a Greek word amorphous. Okay, so amorphous means no form. That means they are not in ordered form. Okay, so actually we can define the amorphous solid like this way. So amorphous solid is a type of solid which has some properties. Okay, and the properties is that they have irregular shape. Okay, but in case of crystalline solid, they have what? A regular shape. That means that they have some crystal which have some definite definite shape. Okay, and that crystal will going to repeat throughout the crystal in case of crystalline solid. But here in case of amorphous solid, they have irregular shapes. Okay, and the second is that the arrangement of the amorphous solid has only short range order. Okay, that means the constituent particles. Okay, so the constituent particles may be here also, it may be atoms, molecules, or ions, but their arrangement is not long order. That means there may be some arrangement, but that means a part of that solid, a part of that solid may have some ordered structure, but it will not going to continue throughout the solid. Okay, that means in such solid, that means in amorphous solid, an arrangement, a regular and periodically repeating pattern is observed over a short distance only. Okay, only a short distance we can observe some ordered ordered structure, but we will not going to get the ordered or repeating structure throughout the solid. Okay, so this is actually by using this properties, that means amorphous solid has this type of properties. Okay, they have irregular shape, and they are that means their constituent particle will not going to repeat throughout the solid. So we have many crystalline solid in our, we actually use many crystalline solids in our daily life. Okay, like salt is actually crystal. Okay, so salt is what? Sodium chloride. So sodium chloride, this solid actually it exhibit the crystalline nature. That means the constituent particles here, constituent particles are what? Sodium and chloride. Okay, sodium and chlorine. No? So that sodium chloride, in sodium chloride, this constituent particle is going to exhibit some crystal, and that crystal, there are many crystal of sodium chloride will be there. Okay, and they will going to repeat, okay, throughout the crystal or throughout the solid. So that's why we actually observe a crystalline solid from that means the structure of sodium chloride is a crystalline solid. Okay, so similarly there are different types of ammonium chloride. Okay, ammonium chloride, potassium chloride, they all are actually crystalline in nature. Okay, so you can even find many many examples of crystalline solid, but this is very simple examples. Okay, so yeah, salt, actually this is the salt, and potassium chloride, ammonium chloride, and also you have actually carried out some salt analysis in your laboratory, the analysis of the salt, and actually I think you have gone through the physical appearance of the salts. Okay, so many of the salts which are given to you in the practical laboratory are what? crystalline in nature. Okay, and also there are some salts are there which have amorphous nature. Okay, so coming to the example of amorphous solid, there are many examples are here. So as for example, glass. Okay, glass, rubber. Okay, rubber, plastics. Okay, plastics, plastics. Okay, polymers like that. Okay, plastics, polymers, and quartz. But here the thing is that quartz, QUART, is a quartz. This is one of the important example which actually can exhibit the crystalline as well as amorphous nature. Okay, but here quartz glass. Okay, the glass of that quartz is actually your amorphous. So this is example of amorphous solid, quartz glass. Okay, but quartz, there are some crystals also. Okay, quartz crystal line. Okay, so they can even exhibit crystalline nature or amorphous nature. Okay, so the glass of the quartz will be your amorphous solid. Understand? So actually I gave the images of this quartz quartz crystal and quartz glass in this PDF. Okay, or in this presentation. In the left hand side you can see the figure 1.1 A actually represent quartz crystal. Okay, and figure B represent the quartz glass. Excuse me. Actually I have taken these images from your class book. Okay, NCERT book, and actually I am only going to explain your class book, so no need of any notes. Okay, so you just try to understand the topics from this video, and then you can just go through the book. Okay, it's sufficient for you. Okay, for your board exam it is sufficient. This book is sufficient. So if you notice the figure 1.1, then you see here there are actually the constituent particles. Actually there are two types of constituent particles are there. One is red color and the other is blue color. No, so they are in ordered form. You see, they are the constituent particle is going to repeat over and over and over. You see, okay, they are going to repeat. But in case of the second one, B, which is actually the amorphous quartz glass, in this case a part of the solid is in ordered form and the remaining part is not in ordered form. Now let us discuss about the most important point, actually the properties. Okay, properties of crystalline solids. Actually in chemistry we are actually basically discussing about what the properties of some materials, okay, chemicals, and their structure. Okay, in inorganic chemistry we basically study about their structure of compounds. Okay, and their their effect on that is the effect of the structure on their reactivity. In organic chemistry we study about the organic compounds and their properties. Okay, and their their nature or their their reactions in different medium. Okay, and in physical chemistry we are just try to explain this processes, inorganic processes or organic processes, mathematically. Okay, by using some mathematics we try to explain them. Okay, coming to your main point is what the properties of crystalline solid and amorphous solids. So when we are talking about the properties, so properties means basically we're going to discuss your physical properties. Okay, physical nature. So what is physical nature? That which we are going to observe now, which we're going to observe physically, or what is their color, what is their melting point, boiling point. Okay, that means appearances and their melting point, boiling point, that those are actually the physical properties. Okay, so these properties will going to actually these properties of the these two types of solids is basically depends upon what? Depends upon their structure. Okay, why structure? You see, because they are divided on the basis of what? On the basis of their arrangement of the constituents. No, understand, this the solid, actually these two are what? These two are divided on the basis of the arrangement of the constituents. So that means their properties will be different because of the arrangement of the constituent only. Okay, because the constituent, the arrangement of the constituent in case of solid state is what? The crystalline solid is what? Ordered, but this one is not ordered. No? This is disordered form. So that's why the properties will going to vary. Okay, understand? So if you try to calculate the melting point, let's suppose melting point. Okay, melting points of these two solids. Okay, so actually the crystalline solid will going to give you a sharp melting point. Why? Because if you notice this image, okay, this figure 1.1a, then here you see this this crystal, this quartz crystal has what? They have ordered structure. Okay, or they have the constituent particle going to repeat over and over throughout throughout the solid. Understand? So that means if you consider a part, let's suppose this part. Okay, if you consider only this part, and to actually melt this part, you have, let's suppose you have to apply T let's suppose T1 temperature. Okay, this part. So if you have to apply T1 amount of temperature to melt this part, also to melt the other part, let's suppose this part also you have to apply T1 amount of energy, because you have to apply same amount of energy to break the bone, same bone. Na? The number of bones will be same. Na? See here, 1 2 actually this part, in this part the number of bones will be same with the other part. Let's suppose this part, so number of bones will be same. That means we have to apply same amount of energy to break the same amount of bone. Understand? But in this case, in the figure B, if you notice the figure B, let's suppose to break the to break the bones, let's suppose we have to apply T1 amount of energy, this part. Okay, this part. But here in this part there will be different amount of bones. Okay, or the arrangement will be different. So to break the all bones in this part, we have to apply T2 amount of temperature. That means that amorphous solid will not going to give you a sharp sharp what temperature. That means sharp temperature means what? It will going to melt the all the part of the solid. That means all the solid, all the solid, okay, will going to melt at a fixed temperature. Okay, understand? Okay. So that means what we can say that in case of amorphous solid, actually the same amorphous solid will going to soften over a range of temperature. Okay, and we can mold in various shape. Okay, because of this nature. Okay, understand? So sometime what will going to happen on heating, actually this amorphous amorphous solid may become crystalline in nature. Okay, because by taking that temperature, sometime what will going to happen, they will going to, the constituent particle will going to form a ordered ordered structure, or the constituent particle will become ordered, and it will become what? Crystalline in nature. As for example, in ancient civilization time, actually there are some glass objects were found. Okay, at that time, and they found that some milky appearances was found in that type of glass, and actually this is actually because of that crystallization. A part of that glass will be crystallized. Okay, so one more thing is that the like actually liquid has what property? Liquid has, we know that liquid has they can flow. Okay, so liquid can flow. Okay, so they can have that we can say that the liquid is a what? Fluid. Okay, because they can flow. Amorphous solid also can flow. Okay, they have that flow properties, but this is very, very slow process. Okay, so that's why we sometimes we observe that if you notice, let's suppose this is your window and this is made of, let's suppose, glass. So if the glass, if the glass is in, let's suppose this is your glass. Okay, so if you put this glass uh, in the window, let's suppose for a very long time. Okay, for a very long time, years. Okay, very long. So what will going to happen? You can see that the lower part of the glass will be slightly thicker than the upper side, because the glass molecule will going to, the constituent of the glass will going to flow from the upper side to the lower side because of the gravity. But this process is very, very slow process. Okay, very slow process. So we can actually term this, this amorphous solid as pseudo solid, or so sometime we call the amorphous solid as what? Pseudo solid or super cooled liquid. Okay, super cooled liquid. So if you super cool the liquid, then what will going to happen? The flow property will going to become small, no? So it will be like super cooled liquid. Okay, so let us now discuss about a very interesting topic, which is actually anisotropic. Okay, anisotropic nature of the crystalline solid. Okay, so here let's suppose this is your one crystal. So it is actually the, you see the constituent particle is repeating its its structure. You see this one is one constituent particles, again it will going to repeat, again repeat. Okay, again here let's suppose this one. So there is a repeating unit. This is a crystal. That means this is a typical or a example of let's suppose an example of crystal. Okay, so the anisotropic nature is that actually some physical properties. Okay, only, not all physical properties. Okay, some physical properties. Okay, so please remember this point, some physical properties only. Okay, some physical properties of crystalline solids, like electrical resistance. Okay, electrical resistance, or even you can say the, okay, even you can say refractive index. Okay, that means the light will going to refract. That means the direction of the light will going to change. I think you actually you have already studied this refractive index in the physics class. So resistance and refractive index, actually this will going to be different if we, actually the value of this resistance or refractive index will going to different if we going to measure in different directions. That means it will depends upon direction. So what is the anisotropic nature, or what is the meaning of anisotropic properties? The properties which will going to depends upon the direction in which we will going to measure, or actually this property is depends upon the direction. Okay, so if we, let's suppose if we are going to measure the resistance of let's suppose here we measure the resistance in this direction. Okay, so from A to B, so that means we will going to you will going to pass an electron from the point A to B. Okay, so if we will going to pass that electron from A to B, then it will going to experience some some repulsion or some resistance from what, from this only these particles. Okay, on this particle, from only this particle. So let's suppose the resistance from here to here is let's suppose this is your resistance RB is equal to, let's suppose let's suppose R1 ohm. Okay, let's suppose okay, R1 ohm. So again, so this is one direction. Okay, so let's suppose we will going to calculate the resistance for the same crystals in some another direction. Let's suppose this direction. Okay, so if we calculate, let's suppose the distance between AB is equal to the distance between CD. Okay, so CD. So since the distance between CD is equal to the distance between AB, okay, so it should be what? It should be resistance should be equal. That means resistance of the AB should be equal to the resistance of the CD, but it is not like that. Okay, why? Because here you see, if the electron will go from here to here, okay, then the resistance which is experienced by the electron will be what? By the repulsion or by the resistance from these small molecules and these bigger molecules, small molecule, bigger molecules. Okay, so here in this direction you see, from A to B, only small molecules. Okay, so it will only going to collide, the electron will only going to collide with that small particles. But here in this direction, C to D, the electron will going to collide with this small particle and these bigger molecules, small particle and bigger particles. That means the CD, the resistance of CD will not equal to the resistance of AB, even though the distance from CD, that means the distance of this line and this line is same. Okay, so that means this R2 ohm is not equal to R1 ohm. That means these properties, that means this resistance will going to depends upon what? The directions. Okay, that means if we measure the resistance in different direction, then we will get different value. Okay, so this properties is known as what? Anisotropic nature. So always remember that only some of the physical properties of what? Crystalline solid will going to have some anisotropic nature. Okay, understand? Clear? So but in case of amorphous solid, it will be not like that. Okay, in case of amorphous solid, actually there will be no any ordered, no, there will be no any long ordered, that means the constituent particle will not going to exhibit, ordered structure or ordered form to a long range. Okay, so there may be some ordered range, but it will be not throughout the whole solid. Okay, so that means the arrangement is irregular, okay, along all the directions. So therefore the physical properties would be same along any directions. Okay, it is not depends upon the directions of that in which we will going to measure this properties. Understand? So resistance for amorphous solid will going to be same regardless of the directions which we will going to use to measure that properties. Okay, understand? So actually the use of amorphous, if you observe or if you want to learn about the uses of amorphous material or amorphous solid, okay, amorphous solid. So actually there are many amorphous solids are in, we use many amorphous solid in our daily life. Okay, like glass. Okay, glass is a, what glass is an amorphous solid. Okay, rubber is an amorphous solid. Plastics, many plastics, we can't imagine our life without plastics. Okay, nowadays. Okay, so it is also an essential actually material for us nowadays. Okay, so we actually use many amorphous solids. Okay, again in photovoltaics, actually in photovoltaics. So what is photovoltaics? Photovoltaics is actually the solar panels. Okay, solar cells. Okay, solar cells, which by using which we can actually get electrical energy from sunlight. No, so these are actually, photovoltaics are actually the devices by using which we can convert the solar energy into electrical energy. Okay, so many actually in photovoltaics nowadays we use amorphous silicons. Okay, amorphous silicon. So actually silicon has what? Silicon has actually, silicon is a semiconductor. Okay, so we'll discuss about the this type of things. Of actually there are actually three types of materials are there if you going to divide them on the basis of conductivity. Okay, so one is a conductor if they can conduct electricity, and the other one is non-conductor which cannot conduct electricity. Okay, and the other one is what? Semiconductor, which is actually in between the conductor and semiconductor. Okay, so actually the band gap of this semiconductor is in between the non-conductor and conductor. Actually conductor, you see the conductor valence band, and let's suppose this is your valence band. Okay, and this is your conduction band. So in case of conductor, the valence band and conductor bands are merged with each other. That means the electrons, actually electrons are in valence band. Okay, so here since the conduction bands are actually merged with this valence band, so the electrons are also in conduction band. So actually electron can flow in the conduction band only. Okay, so in case of conductor or actually in case of conductor that electron can easily flow. Okay, so that's why we get Actually, that's why the electron can flow in conductor like copper, okay, wire, copper wire or iron wire, okay, which is used in what, in our daily life, na? To or to lit a light, okay. So we want what, we want wire. So wire is uh, actually um, actually wire is composed of the conductor, okay, conductive wire. So now second is actually your non-conductor. Non-conductor has a very large gap of between this conduction band and valence band. So this electron cannot go from here to here, okay. So always remember that conduction band, not this conduction band. So electron can only flow in conduction band, okay. So if there are no any electron in conduction band, then that material will not going to show the conductivity nature, okay. Understand? So here in case of non-conductor, the electron, that means this band, the difference between this band, the gap, that means the gap is very high. So we cannot, the electron cannot go from this valence band to this valence band to conduction band, okay, easily. Clear? So it will not going to conduct electricity. But in case of semiconductor, actually the band is actually in between this, the gap, band gap is in between this one and this one, okay. Understand? So this one is actually attached with each other, no? Conduction band and actually merge with each other, but here the band gap is very high. But in case of semiconductor, my band gap is like almost 0.8 electron volt to 1.2 electron volt or 1.1. For semiconductor it is 1.1 electron volt, okay. So that means a little amount of energy is required. Actually if we apply that sunlight has some frequency, na, because we know that it is electromagnetic wave. So here if you apply that electromagnetic wave into the that material, semiconductor material, that means silicon, let's suppose, which have 1.1 electron volt of again band gap. So that means in case of silicon the band gap is 1.1 electron volt, okay. So this is actually this energy gap is actually the sunlight can actually, when the sunlight will going to strike on that valence band, then the electron can go from here to here. So this amount of energy is sufficient to excite the electron from valence band to conduction band. That's why we get the electricity, okay. That is the reason. So amorphous silicon, coming to the main point, that is amorphous silicon can be used in photovoltaics, okay. So because the cost of the amorphous silicon is not so high, but in in previously we used actually crystalline silicon. So it is, the cost of the crystalline silicon is very high. It is actually pure form of silicon, okay. So to prepare the crystalline silicon, actually a huge amount of energy is required, okay, a huge amount of energy. So it is very costly. So nowadays what we try to do, we try to replace the crystalline silicon by amorphous silicon, okay, to get the energy from sunlight okay, and convert it into electrical energy, and we can store the electric energy in battery, okay. Understand? So this is actually some example or some uses of actually uses of some amorphous solid. Now now this table actually 1.1 which actually gives the differences between the crystalline solid and amorphous solid. So it is also important, you have to remember this table, okay, because in exam maybe some question come from this table, okay. So here you see the first one is shape. We already know that for crystalline solid they have some definite geometrical shape, but in case of amorphous solid, no shape, okay, irregular shape, okay. So they don't have any ordered shape, all are irregular shape, okay. So in melting point, in case of melting point, the crystalline solid will going to exhibit a sharp and characteristic temperature, okay. They will going to melt at sharp and characteristic temperature. But here in case of amorphous solid, it will going to gradually soften over a range of temperature. Because of what? Because of the the arrangement of the constituent particles mainly, okay. And the next one is we can actually cut the crystalline solid actually with a sharp edge tool, okay. But they split into two pieces and the newly generated surfaces are plain and smooth. But in case of amorphous solid, when we cut the the with a sharp edge tool, like knife or like that. Okay, then we can cut them, no doubt we can cut them, but the cut into the pieces, actually their cuts is actually irregular in the surface of the cut is actually irregular. Okay, so and the heat of fusion, so heat of fusion means the temperature which is required to fuse them. So they have a definite characteristic heat of fusion, but in case of crystalline, but in case of amorphous solid, they don't have any heat of fusion. And anisotropy, we have already discussed this one. Okay, so crystalline solid, they have the anisotropic nature. Okay, but the amorphous solid isotropic in nature. That means they will not going to exhibit the anisotropic behavior. Okay, so an isotropic means the opposite of anisotropic. Okay, isotropic is the character or the properties which is actually opposite to the anisotropic properties. And the nature of the crystalline solid is true solid. Actually, this is we call them actually true solid, and in amorphous solids they are pseudo solid or supercool solid because they can flow. No? They have some properties of liquid, so they are known as pseudo solid. Okay, and in case of crystalline solid, next point is what? The arrangement of the particle is what? The long order, that means long range order. They will going to repeat over actually throughout the solid. Okay, and but in case of amorphous solid, they will not go. They have maybe they have some portion in their structure which are in order form, but throughout the solid, no, there will be no any ordered arrangement. Okay, so hope you understand the second objective. So our second objective was fulfilled. Okay, so this was what? Distinguish between the amorphous and crystalline solid. Okay, so next we will going to discuss mainly about the classification of crystalline solid on the basis of nature of binding forces. Okay, but here in this part what we discuss only about the types of solid on the basis of what? The arrangement of the constituent particles.